Welcome to Door Insider, where we take a deep dive into the mindset, the why, and the how of the industry's top entrepreneurs, leaders, recruiters, and salespeople. We are the Door Nation. Here is your host, Lee Barber. Let's go.
All right, gang. Welcome to Door Insider, episode 8. Today on the show, we have two special guests. We have Chris Wootton and Keaton Mott. Chris Wootton has been in door-to-door since 2013, starting in alarms, selling over 2,000 alarms in his career. He transitioned into solar in November of 2021, and Keaton Mott has been in door-to-door for 2 years, starting in alarms and transitioning into solar of March of 2021. Let me correct that. Chris came in November of 2021. Both Chris and Keaton are district managers at Legacy Power, Notorious division, here with me in the division. And together, they just won the Cup for Legacy Power 2022.
Yes, sir.
So, guys, first of all, congratulations on the Cup. Waxy's in the house. These boys. So I had the pleasure of hearing you guys' stories when you came in today and did correlation. And I've had a unique experience with both of you during my career. Keaton, I was lucky enough to be there when your career started. How old were you when you first started knocking at Vivint?
Dude, I think it was like 17 and a half, 16. Like 16, 17 and a half, yeah.
Yeah, and you just came in and started hitting. So
no other choice, bro. I got JJ Rock as my dad.
100%.
So I got to figure some things out,
J-Mott.
Got to keep the blood going,
the infamous,
bro.
The Mott blood
Come on now.
runs thick with sales, man.
Yeah.
So we have a really unique story. You were there at that office on Jones, that old ghetto Vivint office.
I remember that thing through and through. You had holes all over the walls.
It was crazy, dude. The carpet was peeling up, but we were just selling the shit out of shit. And then Keaton, or Chris, I've watched you, your numbers just through Vivint and everything that you've done, you know, in your tenure. You've been in the game a long time, and just watching you commit and dedicate, sell all the alarms you've done, lead the guys that you've led. You know, we worked through JT there at Vivint. We all did at some point. Yep. A lot of gratitude to those old Vivint years. That was the breeding ground of a lot of really top level humans. So
without a doubt.
Glad that you guys came in.
Blessed to be here.
Yeah, I want to start a little bit. So, Chris, we'll start with you. A little bit about how you got into doors, man. Like, what sparked you into door-to-doors?
I mean, I think we all kind of have this similar story. We have that one friend that went out and did it, and everybody thought that he was going to shit the bed, right? And special case of if he can do it, I can do it. So my sophomore year of college, I had a fraternity brother that came back from the summer, and he went out and he was the number one rookie on the team. And if you'd asked me before he went out there if he'd even finished the summer, the first week, I'd been like, no shot, right? Came back a new person, made a bunch of money, and I saw him do it, and I was, if he can do it, I can do it. And one thing led to another. I wound up at Vivint, DFW. I think it was summer 2014. And it was we had so much fun. I went out with a bunch of my fraternity brothers. I think at one point in time, there were like 9 of us living in the same apartment.
Yeah, they weren't working at all.
It was disgusting.
It was disgusting, bro.
The funny thing is anyone that's done summer sales, it took us until like the last month of the summer to get a shower curtain. That's how cheap we were throughout the summer.
And they showered together.
Legit. Get out of here. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was humbling. We sold a lot of accounts, but the bonds that were created out there were even more special, made you want to come back and do it and recruit other buddies and other fraternity brothers to go out and do the same thing.
Yeah, I think it's, it's weird when people that don't really understand the law of attraction in this. If you just get out and work and you do the thing and you pay attention, you educate yourself and you just go knock the doors, it can be fun. I mean, listen, doors can be arduous, they can be difficult, they can be long, but they can also be fun. They can also be very rewarding. Like you said, your buddy left and came back a different man.
Right.
Doors teach you something about yourself. Each door that you knock, and then when you compound that weekly, monthly, yearly, like they legit change you as a human being.
100%.
And then that's, to me, everybody's like, well, recruiting is the law of attraction, right? So you promote the success and the fun and like what you're gaining from it mentally, spiritually, financially, and then the people just kind of follow. Yeah. Yep. So that's pretty dope. So Keith, how did you, obviously, and I've told this story on the podcast a few times, but your dad, I was at the limo company, and we were in some of the same circles, and he was always running around with his checks, and he's like, check out this check, and I'm like, that's an MLM, bro. I'm not doing the MLM. And then transportation changed, and I came and I said, can I do the alarms part time? And he said, come and talk about it.
It's a pyramid scheme, bro. It
was a pyramid scheme. That's what I thought. So that's how I got recruited. Same way you got recruited, but by your dad. Yeah. So what were those conversations like with you and him to first get you into doors?
Yeah, no. So it was kind of a unique story more than anything, because I had like rekindled my relationship with my father right after I graduated high school a semester early. And when I moved out to Vegas, it was like the summer of I graduated high school at 2016. So 2017 in January, I moved out with my dad, and I was just getting ready, prepared to go to college that following summer out in Colorado. And really wasn't doing shit. Like I was just kind of chilling, working out, eating more than anything. It was kind of like a transitional period in my time for a bunch of different reasons. And he was like, long story short, like, let's get off your ass. You're going to come to the meeting with me. And kind of the office that you just explained, it was like, dude, I remember looking back on it, and I was like, you, Pat Mendez, John Taylor, Jeremy Moriella, there's some savages in that office. And my dad was just like, look, you're coming, threw me out on doors. I was like, dope. I didn't even know that there was like home security for homes, period. Went up somewhere in Old Henderson and just started knocking doors and got in house first day. And I was like, hey, how do I sign this? And he's like, well, what'd you sign? I'm like, I don't know, but if they wanted it, so like this, we're going to figure it out. But yeah, that's just kind of my story. He just, this is what he was doing, just kind of do what dad is doing, spend more time with him. And then we were able to, fast track our relationship at that time and rekindle things. So I give all the credit in the world to the second top Mott in the family. Second
top Mott, because he thinks he's top Mott, but you said you're taking over the spot.
Yeah, dude.
Justin's a unique individual. He's I have always said that Justin is one of the goats on doors. He's without a doubt, without a question. He's almost, listen, when I try and teach sales, I try and teach like the minutia, the basic fundamentals. Justin has, and I think you share some of that, this almost untangible thing. Like I've been on doors with him, and I'm like, and I'm pretty good at emulating people, and I'm like, I can't emulate that dude, man. There's just some kind of charisma tornado, man. So you obviously picked a lot of that game up, man. So that's dope. So Chris, what is it? We at 9 years in the industry right now?
Yep. 9 years, man.
So help me understand. So the first, you're doing summers in the beginning. How many summers did you do?
Yeah. So I did 3 summers, came back, started my senior year of college, and the American dreams, go to school, get a degree, and then go get a special suit and tie job. Right. So I was president of the fraternity. I was trying to do everything the right way, live that quote unquote American dream, college, go get a big Fortune 500 job. February of my senior year, I actually had done that. Right. So I had made the decision that I wasn't going to go back and do Vivint. Right. I had a bunch of success, but it just didn't seem sustainable at the time. So I started interviewing, and I accepted a job with a massive dental technology company to do dental sales. I was going to move to Boca Raton, Florida.
Okay.
Yeah. It was crazy looking back on it. It's wild. And, my wife will hate that I tell this story, but I was like, you come to this point, you graduate college, and then you move on to other things. Right. Lindsay, I love you. So I was like, that's what I'm going to do. Right. I'm going to go on to bigger and better things. That's what we're supposed to do. And she's like, no, you're not leaving me. Right. So fast forward, here I am, 3 beautiful kids and an amazing wife. But I had a little epiphany, right? True story, had an epiphany, and I was, I'd committed, right? I'd signed a contract with this dental technology company. And, I forget, I think I was talking to Todd Santiago or something like that over at Vivint.
Yep.
Yeah, having a conversation with my old manager, and they're like, dude, do you realize how much money you made last
Was
summer?
Santiago just a manager back then?
No. Well, I was talking to one of my old managers, and like we were in a 3-way text with Santiago or something
Copy
like that.
Yep.
Chris, do you realize how much money you made last summer? Yeah, I do. But like, this is, I got this job because of what I did at Vivint, right? Like, I was not qualified for that job, right? You hear 60 grand a year and like salary and 3% gross profit and
benefits,
car note and benefits, and they kind of helped me realize that, like, sure, that might be the quote unquote American dream to some, but is it what you want, right? Because you made more last summer than they're offering you out of college for a year's worth of work, and I didn't really think about it that way. So I'd made the choice. Look, I pulled the plug on that. And I was like, I told my parents, hey, I'm not doing this. My mom was heartbroken, right? You graduate college to go do something like that. And, but she trusted me. She supported what I was doing. My stepdad drove me out to Utah, and I was starting my direct to home career, right? So packed my car up. And the funny thing is, I asked for graduation. I was like, I just want some suits for my suit and tie job, mom and dad, right? I don't think I.
How long has it been since you wore a suit?
I don't know. The funny thing is, I needed one a couple months ago, and my wife and we couldn't find it. I think it was in the back of the closet.
You mean Lululemon?
Yeah,
that's exactly what he pulled up in.
Straight up, I think it might have been, but nonetheless, yeah. So looking back on it, it's kind of funny. And, went out to Utah and I committed, and that was like my career, and that's where it started. And, one thing led to another. Vivint was doing its internet thing, got to experience that. I kind of agreed to be the, I was the test dummy with a lot of the stuff. There was a new opportunity at Vivint. I was like, let me try it.
Yeah. Did you go? So you did a summer, came back into school, graduated school. You were going to take the job as the dental thing, didn't do it. When you go back into Vivint here, do you go back into a year-round program, or are you going into summers? What was this point like?
When I graduated college, I went straight to summer, right? And had an awesome summer. Again, it was when Vivint was launching its internet stuff. It was, super easy to sell, a lot of fun, especially when you can go out and you can sell an alarm. Selling internet was like
easy,
shooting fish in a barrel.
Yeah.
Right. So went out to San Antonio. That summer we were like pirates, dude. We were moving all over the place. I had nothing holding me back, living in hotels for free. And then summer came to an end, and they were like, look, let's go start this GM program in DFW. And that's about the time that the GM program had started and kicked off here in Vegas, right? So there were 2 GM programs. It was the Vegas one that you were a part of, and then the one in DFW that I was a part of, and just never looked back.
What's crazy about that? I mean, we've all, at this point in our careers, right? We recruit a lot, and now from our paradigm, I can't tell you how many times we sat in front of somebody and they're like, I have these benefits and I have this health insurance, and like. It's crazy because when you're now, that American dream to me sounds like a nightmare, because I see so many people locked into that like fixed mindset where they can't, it's like, and I just heard this
they can't leave the job because of the benefits.
Right. And I just heard this comedian say,
what are
like,
benefits?
Yeah, when have you been able to call like your mortgage company and say, hey, can I use my benefits to pay my mortgage?
Yeah.
But they'll jump over dollars to get to nickels because, I think for the most part, we're pre-programmed for this paradigm of like, what is the perfect thing? We have parents or expectations. It is comfort. And so like, I think, I can't tell you how many times I went with your dad, Justin, to Joe's Stone Crab with JT.
Joe's.
And I can't tell you how many times I've thought of if I would have gone to that meeting and I would have said no. If you would have had that conversation with that guy and you would have said no, because it is easy to sell yourself in. And listen, the thing about the American dream, quote unquote, it's kind of comfortable and it's kind of safe, and there's no like, it's not like you're never really going to get rich in there for the most people.
You stay comfortable.
You're kind of comfortable. Your mortgage is going to be paid, so it's like jumping out of that. I think is one of the hardest things I see in recruiting. is getting people out of that fixed mindset to say, like, listen, we just have such a bigger opportunity here, but because they're programmed so heavy. So kudos to you on that, man. That's a big deal.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Best decision I ever made.
100%. So Keaton, I know a little bit about your story.
Yep.
You just came in and just started selling shit. That's
Just
what I
started
said. I mean, you were like
selling
16
shit,
or 17.
Yeah.
I was like, it was crazy. This dude was on the text thread. And I'm like, there's no way, right? Because I'm in Vegas, I'm selling. I know what it takes to sell. And I should have known. It's a blue-eyed Mott. I don't know. Here he comes into selling stuff. But you have a little bit of a different trajectory because, excuse me, you're just getting ready to gear into college.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting. Do you have a degree?
I do.
Chris, and you have a degree?
Yep.
Yeah.
2 guys with degrees selling
Yes.
solar, guys.
I got
This is where the
3
money's at.
degrees.
3 degrees.
Yeah.
Highly educated.
Yeah.
You can
Yeah.
spell and shit.
That's extremely
This guy-
debatable if he's highly educated or not, bro. Don't give this man any
I
more
leverage
credit than
it.
he
I
gives
leverage
himself,
it. Come
dude.
on now.
I got it. So you have a different trajectory in your mind. You're just going to come in, throw in a couple deals, have a little bit of money for some gas or whatnot,
Yeah.
see what dad's doing, and then go off and be a college football
Yeah.
star. What does the first couple years look like for you?
Yeah, no. So obviously transition once I got to college, just balls deep, right? Like you start playing, Division I football or any type of, not even Division I, just college sports in general, right? Like you just you're in it, right? Like it becomes a full-time job, right? To where your entire life, it's like, it's a sport,
100%,
right? It's fun. You go to school, you go to practice from 3 to 5, you clock out and you're good to go. You make that transition over to college and it's like, oh, right. Reflecting on it, you're like, yeah, this man has a family. And if he doesn't win, he doesn't have a job, right? So it becomes it's a business transactional relationship at some point in time, right? Now, obviously the greater coaches, there's personal relationships. And I look up to so many of my, offensive coordinators, head coaches. Actually, matter of fact, like my OC, when I went out to Utah's, we hopped on a phone call with him a couple of weeks ago, just talking about some advice on what we were going through in our office and like what's the best route to take, right? So obviously, but no, went out there 2-3 years when I was out in Colorado. And when I would go back home during the summer, I'd always go out and just knock.
And Vegas was always home, right?
Vegas, yeah. Born and raised 702 type thing. And so came out here and knock. And it was always just like here and there. Like it wasn't anything that I like really looked at. Now, reflecting back on that, I'm like, I remember going back to school and going like, why the hell are some kids even in school, bro? Like you're going to get a communication degree, sociology. You can't even spell. I can't even say spell sociology. Like, and I knew that the money was real because I'd go out, slinging 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 alarms a week and get a $5,000-$6,000 check at 18, 19, 20 years old on a full ride. Like that money would go the entire semester for me for whatever it was, right? Yeah. Go on the back end, donate some plasma, pay that for groceries, and I would go back in the summer and somehow like this 19-year-old kid's in Huntington, California for a week by himself.
Yeah.
But no, when I transitioned out of it, like it was always all in the back of my mind. And then when honestly, again, like I give all the credit to my dad to obviously introducing to me like to some savages. Like that's the only way I could explain it, right? Like, it's the same reason that I'm sitting in front of you guys right now. It's the same reason that I was able to partner up with him is because of that connection that was made because of him. Yeah. And then I was seeing like what was happening with solar because I was tangibly seeing it. Like I could physically see the way his life was changing after he made that transition from, alarms over to solar. And I'm like, even if it's half of what I'm seeing, like it's stupid. And so it was always on the back of my mind. And then once COVID really hit for me, I had gone through a bunch of different surgeries in college, like, with knees. And then I snapped my fibula my senior year and it was COVID, right? So it's like I was rehabbing up, was getting back. I was probably in the best shape of my life going into my senior year. Felt really, really good. And then COVID hit. And I was like, plug yanked, right? Rug out from underneath you. It's gone. Season gets pulled. It's like, all right, what do I do? And so there's like a 3 or 4 month time period where I'm like, all right, cool. There's only so many parties and only so many chicks that you could text and Snapchat in a night to where it's like, what am I doing with my life? And then finally moved back to Vegas. And that was just like the only thing that made the most sense for me at that time. Like, could I pick up another phone call to X, Y, and Z and get a nice, comfortable 9-to-5 job that's going to pay the bills and some? Absolutely. But it was something that I always knew that I was good at. Right, even at a young age, like you said, like 16, 17 years old, I would come in and throw in some deals. Like all ego aside, like I knew I was like, okay, cool.
No, you were good.
Yeah,
right away.
It was like, okay, cool. I could do this thing. And so when I made the transition over to solar, it was like, damn, like this is real, right? Like
Life-changing.
It is.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's interesting for me to hear you say that story because it just made me reflect on The Office. And, I was thinking you were lucky to come in around the group of people that we had. I was lucky to come in around the group of people that we had.
Yeah.
At that time, Moriello is a 300 account guy. Mott's a 300 account guy. Pat Mendez was there was some monsters, I talk in my offices now and the teams where, I just do what the people did in front of me. But when you're surrounded by that many great people,
you have no other choice.
You have no other choice. And it just seems like
power proximity.
100%.
It's normal.
It's normal. You're like, this is just what you do. You know what I mean? So it was a pretty dope office, man. From that office came a lot of, even, I don't know if you remember JJ Franco, but he's out slinging windows. He owns a window company now.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of like Cody, Seth. There was Seth didn't originate in that office. He had been in alarms for a long time, but there's a lot of people that came through that office that were just absolute monsters.
Big names within the industry right now from Vegas.
But that being said, you came in and started throwing down right away. And I've actually seen in my time in the industry, 17, 18-year-olds come and try and give the thing and they just don't make it, but you did. Yeah. So there was some to that. So Chris, you're a couple years into the thing. What starts changing in you over your first couple years that starts developing you into a manager?
So I saw some of the tangible things, right? Like from a recruiting standpoint, you see the nice watches, the nice cars, the vacations, the wives are living comfortably, they're staying home.
Yep.
The entire time, I was dating my college sweetheart, which is now my wife. And, I remember telling her in college, like, baby, if you don't want to, you'll never work a day in your life. Right. And, now we've been extremely blessed. She takes care of 3 beautiful children. She has a harder job than I do.
Yeah.
But just seeing, my leadership at the time and the life that they were able to live, that's what I wanted, right? I didn't grow up that way. I come from a very, very middle-class family. Dad's Marine, stepdad's, works for the city, mom's county clerk, right? Like, don't come from a boatload of money or anything crazy like that. I wanted something bigger, and I saw this as a vehicle to get to where I wanted to be. And I never wanted to ask my parents for anything because of what they had given me throughout my upbringing, right?
Yeah.
Is making sure I was straight in school, leading me the right way, making sure that I didn't make too dumb of decisions, or that if I did, they held me accountable. I owed it to them.
You mean like going and knocking doors and not using your college degree?
Oh, dude.
Talk about other things, bro.
Yeah. That's the least of their worries now, right?
Yeah.
But, I saw what guys were doing, and it was tangible and it was real. And I saw the lives they were living, and, they were good people, right? Yeah. They were good human beings, and that's what I wanted. And that's what I wanted to be. And that's what I wanted for my family. So when I saw that, that's kind of when I realized that this was real.
Yeah.
Right? Like you can change people's lives. And then I realized how impactful recruiting could be. And, to be able to bring someone in that's maybe, been less than fortunate and plug them into a system to where you can then change their life, and the impact that this opportunity can have on someone if it's taken advantage of is what I got addicted to. And then just being able to have complete and utter control over my time. I don't like being told what to do. Right? Like, I'm very accountable. I don't need someone looking over my shoulder telling me that I need to clock in at this time, clock in at that time. That's never been the way that I've been, right? I can hold myself accountable. I know what I have to do, and I'll do it better than most. I don't need someone to tell me.
Yeah.
And I just saw that freedom, and that was super attractive to me. And,
entrepreneur spirit.
Yeah.
So a few things out of there. Some of the things that have always amazed me, listen, man, I have attention deficit disorder. I have dyslexia. It's spelled cat with a K, if I didn't know better, right?
Yeah.
But one of the, I am a guy that can see the forest past the trees. And much like you, I think most of us start out kind of in the same point. Like, when you're recruiting shoes, watches, cars, right? Because we have to show out, right? Because it's like saying, hey, whatever I'm doing is successful. Look at me. But then it's what you're able to turn on with your mouth with that person? What can I show you? What can I teach you? Exactly.
Yeah.
So, initially I was highly attracted to the same things. I thought, I saw Mott was great, making great money. I saw JT was making great money. Pat Mendez just bought a new Audi at that time. That's when we first knocked in his Audi.
Yeah.
I was like,
I remember that.
The financials to me, I was like, and each person that I've mentioned is highly intelligent in their own attributes, right? Specifically in their own attributes, which generally is, I'm good at sales. This is what I'm good at. But I could see that if I felt genuinely that if they could do it, I could do it. And I saw what they had and I'm like, hey, I want that. And so what I was thinking about when you were saying that is, I think that's kind of most of our call to action is we see that tangible. And then at some point when you were at Correlation, you said, I now quantify my success by how many people I've helped.
Yeah.
You transition into that because the initial view of door to door is like, oh, so-and-so got a new car. They're doing this or the Instagram or the big checks or they got a watch or look at the shoes or you just got a Tesla. And then eventually you surpass that because money's never enough of a why. And once you get your bills paid, you're just like, who
you
can
only
help?
spend so much on dumb shit.
100%.
Yeah.
And it's kind of not all of it's dumb shit, but I like a lot of dumb shit.
Yeah.
I have a lot of dumb shit.
Makes three of us.
Yeah. So that's really cool to hear. So, Keaton, obviously it's kind of a similar story for you. I mean, you saw your dad highly successful. He's a hitter. He just did. So here's a little story. I used to get pissed at your dad, bro.
Oh yeah.
So
you and I both, bro.
For different reasons. So my goal was always to be like within the top 3 on the board, and your dad would always beat me. So sometimes I'd be like,
he'd always sell 3x3.
Dude, it was crazy.
Oh.
And then the dude would leave, right? Okay, so I'd be at like 150, and he'd be at like 180, and then he'd leave for like 2 months, and then I'm like, I'd get to 180, and I'm like, so he was gone, and I still haven't passed him on the board. Yeah. And then he comes back and he chucks in like 20 in a week, and I'm like, you son of a bitch. Yeah. He's just got that natural thing. So obviously you see that. You've had a fast track.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think some of that is because of being around guys like Woot, being around guys like your dad, JT, Moriello, some of the guys over at Bell. There's some hitters over there.
Oh yeah.
So you've got to just pick up a massive amount of game. Oh, yeah. But, a lot of people pick stuff up, but they don't use it. Yeah. So for you, in the couple of years that you've been in, where you're at right now, listen, we're gonna go into dynamic partnerships and what you guys do together. And one of the things I talked about in Correlation is that, you wouldn't be partnered with Wootton if you didn't have value. You guys wouldn't be running the team that you're running for, Legacy Notorious Division and Waxahachie if you guys didn't both have massive value to the organization. You're massively valuable human beings. Mm-hmm. You've been able to fast track that in just a couple of years, which is amazing. So for you, what has that couple years been like, and how have you just taken that information but actually applied it into traction?
Yeah, no, that's actually a really good question. So like for me, again, like I was talking in your Correlation today, is like I've been able to be extremely blessed for this, like to be in that situation, to be behind closed doors with individuals having conversations with one another that like a 16, 17, 18-year-old usually isn't a part of, right? And so like I was always picking up like, the term game or like knowledge or like these different word tracks. And I'm like, okay. And I think at a young age, I was able to see like value in human beings for what it was worth, right?
That's money right there.
And like it became a situation to me. It was like, okay, this individual provides this, right? He's really good with leading with love, right? But he falters with work ethic. Or this dude's really good at work ethic, but he's not as analytical on the back end of things, right? And so for me, I was like seeing all these different things from a lot of high profile dudes, and I'm like, keyword high profile. They're still high profile with missing like a specific, what's the word?
Attribute,
right?
Yeah.
And so when I made that transition over to Bell, right, more than anything, like shout out to Bree and Jesse, all those dudes over there, like great human beings from the core of it all. I started learning more about like just humans, right? Because of, where their culture is as a company and the background of the individuals that are in those four walls, right? It's more about like leading with love and changing people's life because again, like, a lot of those dudes over there come from a background that like I can't relate to, but I could get down with because of the people that I've been around my entire life.
Absolutely.
And so I started seeing from like a leadership standpoint of like, these people are truly leading like with love. Are they right in every aspect of it? Like, do I think they could add this to the funnel? Absolutely. But the basis of it was like, this is where I'm lacking, right? Because like me just off the bat, I'm more like just tough love. Like, yo, let's just put on the work boots, tie them up, grab the shovel, let's start digging, let's just do our job.
Put your pads on, let's go.
Yeah, bro, let's just get this thing moving, right? But that doesn't resonate with all human beings, right? Like, and so like Woot's able to like, you know, really, really attract a certain individual, and I'm able to attract another individual. And when you mold the tool with one another, like that's when something special happens, right? And then it's at that point, it's that individual's job to like listen with the intent to learn and not respond. And if you're taking that information in, then apply it in whatever way you seem fit. And it doesn't have to be overnight by any means. And so as that like started happening over at Bell, like I saw the basis of just like leading with love and like being a good quality human being at its core, right? Because like Bree, Jesse, and Jeff all came into my life to where it was kind of like, it was like the 22, 23-year-old, like it could go one way or it could go another way really, really quickly. And they just opened arms and like, here, I love you. This is what we're going to do. And so I was around that. And then once we, you know, shook hands, part friends, loving to death from all angles to this day, Jesse and, you know, Paul were over at my house the other night with my family having dinner. I met Woot, right? And it got back to like that grittiness. Like, yo, we're gonna lock this shit in. We got a job to do. Let's roll. Like, this is what we're gonna do. 10-hour, 15-hour work days. And that is real. And it's different when a human being saying like, hey, we're gonna go out and work hard. And then when you like truly see it to where you're like, oh shit, like this is another level. Like this dude, you know, talks the talk and he walks the walk, and he walks it more than he talks it. Right. And that was a big thing for me to where like, you know, again, I've said this earlier today, like my 50% has always been better than people's 100%. Right. But that's been my Achilles heel. Right. From the outside looking in, people will be like, oh, you know, Keaton's getting his shit done from all angles. But like I would look at the man in the mirror and I'm like, yo, your game's gonna come up at some point, whether it's now, whether it's when you're 30, whether when it's your 40. But what I was seeing from like a financial standpoint, what everyone was making, and I was like, I'd be an utter dumbass, right, to look back when I'm 30 years old and to go, yo, I fumbled the bag on being able to say at 23, 24 years old, you made a quarter, a half, let alone 7 figures in a 12-month period. It's
a big deal.
Like, and for me to even like, obviously, like I have a significant other now and a 2.5, 3-year-old. It's like I would be doing such a disservice to them as human being if I've been blessed to be around all these different people, learn all this different game, get all this different knowledge, see a lot of high profile individuals. Like I have more tools to the tool belt than other people do at my age. And I don't know why that reason is, right? And I don't even want to look into it. It's a blessing from all disguise. And I noticed that. I genuinely do notice that. And I said this earlier today again, like I've been put in a position specifically over here at Legacy that like most people have been doing this job for 10, 15 years, right? That have done way more shit than I have, knocked way more doors, put in way more hours, have way more struggles that would give a left pinky toe to be in the position that I am, right? And I'm not oblivious to that, right? And ego could set in from all angles from it. But for me, it's like, it's dope to see like the service that this job provides for like our people. Like I could tangibly see my little brother, like Carson, who again, we're all a product of the environment that we grow up in at some point, and you got to flip the switch to go one way or another. But to see like even the growth that that individual has made in a 12-month time period to when he came out and we threw 2 twin beds in my college room and was like, we're gonna make this work because we got no other choice. Like that's dope to me, right? And I got so many stories like that it's like I get so much. That fills my cup more than anything.
Get geeked up on it, man.
Come on now.
Yeah. So it's interesting. A few takeaways there. I know Jesse and Breezy and Jeff and all those guys at Bell, and it's a great company over there. But what I keyed in on with what you said was a really unique paradigm in the fact that as a younger man in those rooms when you were a teenager, one of the first things that you grasped onto was that all of the great people in the room lacked some attribute, right? And what I've learned, my biggest strength as a leader at this point in my life is being able to surround myself with people who have the attributes that I don't.
That you don't have, yeah.
I'm good at a few things, like John C. Maxwell says. I don't try and practice all the stuff that I'm not great at. Yeah. I try and laser focus on the stuff that I'm amazing at, and do that, and then surround
leverage
myself.
Your strengths.
Leverage your strengths. So and you see the same thing at Bell. Jeff Iverson is a very different person than Brianne McCullough. Jesse McCullough is a very different person than Brianne McCullough, but they each lack attributes that the others have. And so, to capture onto that in the early Vivint office, right? Your dad had attributes that I didn't have. I had attributes that he didn't have. Moriello had attributes. Moriello's kind of like everybody's mom.
Yeah.
He's like
the
den mother, man.
Yeah.
And then there's, JT up on his chalkboard. So those are pretty dope paradigms that you got really right in the beginning. And I think that, that's what picking up game is. It's just being able to be around, high level human beings and then seeing things from a different angle that other people don't have and then implementing that. So, Chris, you spent 9 years in alarms, and I know that you have had obviously an amazing experience at Vivint. You were there the entire time. So the time that you were there, what do you think some of the biggest lessons are that you got out of alarms? I mean, you and I know that alarms are, I don't want to say they're more arduous than solar, but the difference in solar is, here's my
There's
experience.
A difference for sure.
There's a difference, dude. Listen, if you didn't, there's no pipeline.
Yeah.
There's no pipeline. You're getting paid next Friday for Win on the Wall this week.
Yep.
And so every week is scarcity. Every month is scarcity. Every day is scarcity. So it's like, you get these different work ethics. And I know, I learned a tremendous amount. You were in alarms for almost 9 years though.
Yeah.
So you did more. I mean, what were some of the biggest takeaways that you got that have propelled you into the human being that you are now?
I mean, what's made me successful going from alarms to solar is I've never had a work ethic problem, right? Like that's never been an issue. I mean, thank goodness, right? But I've never had an issue with going out and working my ass off. Okay. That's never been a problem of mine. So with alarms, I was told, hey, you make X amount per deal. You do the math. Okay, cool. If you go do X amount, you're going to make this much the following week. But I had FOMO, right? So I had FOMO, and I look back on it now and it was just so crazy. But, instead of going to dinner Monday night with my wife or my family, right? It's
you gotta sell a deal.
I got to go out and get a deal, babe.
100%.
I got to. Because if I don't today, then I might not tomorrow. And if I don't tomorrow, the entire world's going to blow up.
Literally.
Right? Everything's going to come to an end. I promise you. Right? So I had that FOMO that was instilled in me from the very beginning. And I mean, shout out to my leadership, right? They got production out of me, whether it was a good thing, bad thing, so on and so forth. But in alarms, I just learned is you got out what you put in, right? Like, sure, you may get lucky every now and again, but if you aren't out there, like putting in the work day in and day out, one, you're not going to get better. You're not going to achieve a whole hell of a lot, and you're going to remain average or maybe even worse, right? And I don't know about you, but like mediocrity or being average is like the furthest thing from what I want to be.
100%.
Right? I don't want to look back on this thing and go, oh, like I was okay and made a lot of money.
Well, what is mediocrity? To me, it's being the same person that you were yesterday.
Right. It's being okay with literally 100%. It's you're just okay with okay results.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
You're okay with okay results. You justify failures. It's other people's fault instead of just taking ownership, in my opinion, and going, damn, I dropped the ball here. I'm going to learn from my mistake and I'm going to be better tomorrow than I was today.
Yeah.
Right. Like that's the big thing. If we get, just 1% better each and every single day, come end of the year, we doubled up on our production. We're now 200, 300% better than we were whenever this bitch kicked off. Right. And that's it. Most guys, they justify subpar performances and they want to blame other things when in reality, all we've done is we don't allow people to be okay with okay effort. Right. That's just not something that we allow. Like, don't show up if you're going to come in and like give half-ass. It's a waste of your time. It's a waste of my time because there's an individual sitting right next to you that's fighting tooth and nail to go out there and be better than they were yesterday and generate the greatest amount of money that they can for them and their family.
Yeah.
Doing them a disservice.
I agree. And it's weird. I've had this conversation numerous times with different leaders. It's a difficult thing, like I have a variety, and I've just learned so much in my career about human beings because we work with them.
Yep.
And it's really difficult because sometimes I'll find myself wanting something more for somebody than they want it themselves, and it just doesn't work. And then
can't exist.
We go through these things as leaders where, when I asked my group the other day, I'm like, when's the last time you saw me fire somebody? And they just quit. They quit because they can't do the job. But, you deal with people where you're trying to get them. Listen, I know what it takes for me to be successful, and I do a different job than my guys in the room, but I'm just relentless at work. Like I live in this, like, I feel like I live in like,
why not though?
I love it.
What the hell else?
Why not?
I love it.
We don't have forever.
We don't. I love it. And it's like sometimes, and it was funny because I had Deshaun Bryan on the show the other day, and he kind of changed my paradigm on maturity. And this is what keys me in on this is like, you guys are running a really, what they used to call us back in that Vivint office was SEAL Team 6, because we had a really high amount of production from a really small group of people.
Yeah.
And you guys have really achieved that out in Waxahachie. Obviously, we took the cup from Valor, right?
Yeah.
So they ran it for...
I would say something about Cali, but I know I'm being recorded right now.
Yeah.
Love you guys.
Me later.
We won.
Love you, General John.
We won.
Waxy in the house.
Waxy now. So, but listen, it's an attribute, and I think that John's an amazing human being, and I think the one thing that he would testify to is that they had the cup 4 years in a row, so they know how to work the cup. You guys are newer in legacy, in that you come in with a smaller squad of guys doing more volume, and it comes from that work ethic. And one of the things even I struggle here personally in my office is I have a larger group doing the same or less than you guys. So you guys it's like Spartans, it's like SEAL Team 6. It's difficult to create and maintain that type of intense volume and momentum from like making your people grind every day. Like I have a percentage of them that I'm really good at that with, and then some of the people I feel like I'm just trying to help them mature through life. And then as the leaders, we go through like, should I cut them because they're cutting with the culture? But they're a -4 when they start, and you get them up to a -3, and you're like, well, I'm actually helping you. So it's like these struggles. So how do you guys? It's kind of a long question, but how do you guys deal with that? Because it's natural in all sales team where everybody's not as mature, everybody's not as high production, and you guys are running a really high volume, high energy, or high intensity individuals on socials. Like, how do you keep the entire team running with that motor?
Yeah, no. So I think that's a really good question. I think we're actively like within that transitional period right now within our office, right? Because like at the beginning of this whole entire thing, right, we live off of a couple different things. Like one, we won't be outworked, right? Mm-hmm. Like lead with love, and like we don't need you, but we want you. And those are two vastly different things for us, right? Like from a standpoint of this, it's like right now, like we have been lean and mean for a while, right? And we'll throw up 80, 90, 100, 156 accounts, 66 in a week with 20 dudes and do it like clockwork, right? And to where for us, it's like at the beginning of this thing is like we wanted to lay such a solid foundation, right? With like our core group of guys that no matter what, hell or high water, like we have the basic, principles that we want to be instilled and what we want to live by from our culture to where when we bring guys in, it's like, okay, cool. You could go out with this individual on doors because he knows the get down, right? And I know he's going to be doing the same things as if me or Woot were taking that new guys out on doors. And I think the biggest thing is like, we say this all the time. I think this industry was built off of summer sales, right? It's like, hey, let me go recruit 200 guys. Let me throw a bunch of shit at the wall and let me see what sticks. It's like, and at the end of the summer, you look back and you got like 30, 40 guys out of 200. Yeah. Like I'm good, right? Because out of those 200 people, like I'm going to become a therapist. Like if I wanted to go to college to be a therapist, I'd be a therapist, right? Because on the back end of that, I'm answering calls of like, oh, my dog died, my girlfriend hates me, I don't know how to pay rent, yada, 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 blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, look, bro, you're not the first one. Yeah. Like you're not, and you're not going to be the last one. But there's been a lot of people that have been gotten out of your situation to where like right now, I think we offset each other in that standpoint to where like there's certain guys, right, that'll gravitate towards us in certain moments, right? Because they know what they're going to get, but we switch it up on them in a standpoint of this. It's like a lot of times we'll have an individual that'll go to Woot and like Woot's going to be like, hey, yo, lock it in, bro. Like you're just fumbling the bag, right? You're using all these excuses on things that happened yesterday, last week, a month ago, or 5 years ago. None of that shit matters, bro.
Doesn't matter.
Like,
and I'm not going to give them the solution to their problem at hand.
Yes.
I'm going to make them figure out what the actual issue is, and I'll help you find the solution, although I know what it is, but I need you to help realize
yourself.
What's actually happening. Right?
Because I'm not going to give you a crutch. Like, I know the answer, right? Or maybe I don't know the answer, because again, I've only been doing this for 2 years. I don't have all the answers. Newsflash. Like, I haven't put in the the 50,000 doors. I don't have the 2,500 alarms to my name. Like, I don't have those accolades as of right now. I'm going to get them, quicker than most people do. Don't get it wrong, but like, for him, it's like a lot of times people will go to him and does that. And then on the back end of it, I know that conversation is happening. If you get both of that, the good cop, bad cop, if you're just bad and bad, that's when like retention, people are gone, right? So for us, it's like knowing what conversations are happening and communicating like thoroughly on a day-to-day basis on the problems that are occurring within our organization, to where when a conversation does come to us, like we know how to handle it because we know how the other one handled it, right? Like we're not communicating to be like, hey, I was a complete dick to this dude today because he needed to just be told to nut up, right? But we just know, right? And it's like, I don't know. I don't think it's something that can be taught, truthfully. Like, you just got to find your person. Like, it just so happens, like, I got my dude.
Yeah, I agree with that.
We've also created this culture that within the team, as you know, in sales and as you grow an organization, is things start to get clicky.
Yeah.
Right? Things start to get clicky. It naturally happens with people. I mean, thank goodness that hasn't happened with us, right? Our guys everybody is so close. Like, honestly, I have no clue what these guys would do for each other, bro. They'd do anything, right? And it's not a facade. It's not an act. Like, these guys are like, will fight tooth and nail for one another. They love one another. But what they're so good at, and it's often an issue in any sales organization, is when the leader's gone or away, because we can't be there 24/7. It's impossible, right? We wouldn't have marriages. Yeah. Right? We wouldn't. It's just impossible. Our guys do a super, super solid job. And I don't know what created this. I don't know that question. But they do a really good job at just holding one another accountable, right? I don't always have to be the guy to say, hey, dude, like, lock it in, or hey, nut up, or like, the problem. The problem is you're not working, right? Sometimes that doesn't have to come from me, right? So we've also been able to rely on other people within our organization, the OGs that we call them, that were there day one, to where our attrition's been really good from a rep standpoint. Like, if a guy's left, it's been because we just told him he wasn't a good fit for the team. Right? But if they feel that someone is not fit for what we're doing, we trust their input. And often they'll weed them out. Right? They will. Because truth of the matter is we've shown it. We don't need 40 guys to go out and do 160 accounts. We don't. You know?
No, I love that. And so it's a weird thing. I was just watching, I think I talked to you guys about that as a TikTok as a Navy SEAL, and he says, don't lead people the way you want to be led. Yeah. Because at our different levels of leadership, you're a different human being. Like, you can task me with something and I just go do it. I don't need a lot of information on it. I'm a critical thinker. I'm going to find solutions to problems. I'm just going to go handle it. But we're dealing with just a whole variety of different people. And it's interesting to me because I've never needed anybody to tell me to go to work. Yeah. My clock just gets up and I'm like, what do I work? Let's go to work. Go time. And so it's interesting because, listening to you guys talk about how you're building the culture, it takes a lot of dedication and drive to do that. It really does. And I have a mix of that culture, and it's a bigger room doing about the same or less. So it's a tribute to what you guys are doing out there, especially, I mean, Jesus, you guys have been in solar I've been in 4 years. You've been in for just a year? Yeah. Not yet. A year?
Going on 2, and
You guys are crushing it. So, and that's, I always love watching. Really quick, what were the numbers on the cup? how long was that? The last week? It was like so grid went dark. So anybody who doesn't know about Legacy, we have grid, which is everybody gets to see what everybody's doing. And when we're in a competition, they just shut that thing down.
Yeah.
So
it's the insider of Vivint.
Yeah. So
Damien and Luke, change that, please, bro. Okay, it gives me the most anxiety in my life.
It's terrible.
It's badass though, and it's the reason why we did so much production.
It's amazing.
We had no clue what anyone else was doing.
So what was so grid goes dark for a comp, so nobody can see what anybody's doing. How long was that? Was that a week? The final week is what it was that you guys threw up those numbers?
I think it was like a 3-week comp.
Yeah, it was like for the championship round.
The championship round, though. Against
was
Valor.
a week,
and
right?
Then in a week, we did how many deals?
Like 66, 67 or something
like 70. That. We did 70, I think.
Yeah.
Right around there, 72. You know, it was we skunked them.
Pretty monster. How many dudes?
Probably 17. 18?
Between 17 20.
Yeah.
It's a strong week, dude.
We met in my living room.
Yeah.
Right. It was super tight.
Yeah.
Looking back on it, like,
it's the 300.
Dude, it was really, fun, really cool. My wife and kids are upstairs in the movie room, like trying to be quiet during correlations because she knows how like dialed in we are.
Yeah.
And to your point, like, sure, we came to Legacy less than a year ago, but like, we know how to gamify competitions, right? Just because I came to Legacy 12 months ago doesn't
mean it's your first.
I know how to win a sales competition, right? We know what it takes, you know? So we were just very calculated. And the cool part is our people that we work for are just as competitive as we are. It's just kind of been a culture that we've created, and it's the brand. Yeah. You know, like these guys, they don't like to lose.
No. Yeah.
So much though, we did a car group competition the other day whenever competitions weren't going on at the company. I mean, you would have thought these guys were literally going to square up in the middle of correlation because like that's how at each other's throat they were. Yeah. Right. And they would have given each other a big hug afterwards. Yeah. But truth of the matter is I'm so grateful to have that type of culture.
Yeah. But I think it's because it's like, it's not so much about the dollar game, right? Within competition. Yeah. Like this job for me is like just a game from a number standpoint, right? Like again, both of our athletic, backgrounds, it's like, if I put more points up than the other team, I win. Yeah. Well, if I put more deals in the other team, I win. Yeah. And I make a shitload of money.
Yeah.
It's a win-win.
Why would I not do that? And I even want to go back into what you were saying to like that internal clock when you wake up in the morning and just go and work. Like there was probably someone in your life, whether it's your dad, whether it's your mom, whether an uncle or aunt, that's where you were growing up and you saw that. Yeah. Like consistently. Yeah. To where I was like, these dudes are just grinding. I have someone in my life that is showing me that line of work. Like a lot of people nowadays, like in society, specifically in our country, don't have that. Yeah. Right. Especially like a lot of the dudes that I'm intertwined with, right? Like to where they don't know the definition of work, let alone hard work or let alone consistency. Right. And so I think it's for us, it's like, again, like success is on the other side of service. Like if I could show them consistently, like, yo, there's no difference between you and I. All I'm doing is consistently working, 10 to 15 hours a day over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. Well, like history repeats itself. We're doing this in less than a year. Like we'll have this conversation a year down the road and see exactly where we're at. But like I feel like some people just need to be shown the ropes, and then it's either their job to sink or swim, right? And if they keep swimming, cool, bro. Then we'll walk, then we'll run, and then we'll fly. Yeah. But like a lot of people nowadays, especially like our crew, like we're younger, right? Like we got dudes. Like I think he's the oldest in our. No, I mean Braden's the oldest at 35. You're 30. We don't have a lot of old dudes in our group. Like a lot of we're year round.
None of me sitting around over there.
I know. Come on now, but we need it. All
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Come
we'll
on,
take you, Lee.
Come on, Lee.
We'll take you, bro.
Right?
I got hip surgery. I'm
Watching
ready to go.
You today, man. I'm like, man, Lee would fit in perfectly.
Nah, for real. Bro. But it's like that's for us. It's like, all right, dude. Like a lot of these dudes haven't had those like quote unquote role models or been able to show that. So it's like, look, it ain't that hard, bro. Like this life isn't hard, and it's made out to be hard. Like, so let's just simplify this entire process for everyone, and it's just consistently working hours.
Tupac said, "Life is hard, only what you make it to be, man."
Come on, now.
Straight up.
R.I.P. So it's I love that, man, and it's been fun for me. I'm a student of the game, and we're all built different. Seth was always fun for me to knock with, because he's he's retarded, man. He's retarded. The dude, like, he knocks retard, and you guys knock retards. It's like, it's insanity. It's like, listen, bro, I'm not gonna lie. I have never been on a door at 11 o'clock at night. I just have not done it.
You're also like 6'7",
man.
207. I don't know,
Keaton's
bro.
pretty big. Dude,
Yeah,
watching this dude run around on a Facebook Live at like. You know, like you
that
guys,
was real.
Yeah, no, I know it's real.
That was real.
There's no fake news here. So it's been fun watching you guys' work ethic, because I'm a hard worker, but you know, I admire guys, and I'm not scared to admit when somebody outworks me. No. Seth outworked me on doors. He just did. Yeah. And you know, his results were quantified by it. My results have been quantified by my work. You know, he had some imbalances in his. There's some things that you sacrifice when you have family time, personal time, mental time. It's like. But watching you guys knock the way you have, you guys are, you know, you're after it. So it's been really fun just watching you guys on socials and seeing what you're doing, because listen, it's a simple program, but it's not easy. Yeah. And working hard is hard enough, but working extra hard is that much more. So kudos to you guys.
But even with that, like, you bring up the whole family thing, right? Like, he has a younger family where, I mean, Ken's is 5?
Yeah, 5.5.
I got a 3-year-old. It's like, for me, it's like, I don't want to be making these sacrifices when they're 9, 10, 11, 12 years old. I agree with you. When they're like, they could actually, they see it. They're like, why isn't daddy around? Yeah. Like, why isn't he at my practice? Why isn't he at the game? And it's like, for me, it's like, if I can make all those sacrifices right now and like make that 10-year goal again, like a 5-year goal, and turn it into a 3-year goal, like, run it. Yeah. Like, 100%. Let's go.
I will also say, though, sorry to interrupt.
No, go for it.
Is solar has given me that happy median. Right?
Way more in his life than ever.
Given me that happy median, without a doubt. I mean, I shared it with the group a little earlier, is I'm still able to go to the football games on Saturday morning and watch my daughter cheer, you know, eat breakfast with the fam, and then go close a couple appointments and then make it home before the sun sets. Right? And I get my cake and I get to eat it too. And then it makes it a lot easier and open communication is what's most important, is when I tell my wife, hey, this is what's coming up, right? The Masters is about to start.
This is get down.
This is what it's going to look like. But just know that whenever this is said and done, this is what's on the other side of it. And that open communication is often what doesn't exist with a lot of the most successful guys and their spouses, which we've all seen, you know, shit blow up, right? Straight up. So, you know, while we are working ridiculously hard, and shout out to Cody, he's forced me to find that happy medium.
Cody, it's the
real
not just a monster, but just a spectacular human being,
phenomenal human.
Yeah.
Top 0.001% of human beings.
Yeah,
100%.
Like, he's a real deal. But like, even with that, it's like him, like, this is the first time in Woot's career to where he's been able to have that happy median, right? Because like Kenzie, she's starting to be 5, 6, 7 years old. Yeah. But like, we know Woot. Like, I know Woot, to where it's like, I know, bro, that you've done this shit for a long time. Like, I am in a service of you, to where if you call me on a Saturday and we're balls deep, whether it's in a comp or you know, anything, it's a working hours, prime time, game time on a Saturday, and you're like, hey, I got to go to her cheer thing. It's like, yeah, bro, go. Handle it. Like, look, because I know when push comes to shove, it's like, because on the back end, a week or two later, he's reminding me, like, hey, bro, like, go spend time with Days.
Like, text me again. I know you guys are on a date,
like,
bro.
Go Days. Like, get off your phone so to have that happy median. And again, like, he has his, right, yin and yang with Lynn's. With my girl, it's like, she's new to it over this past year, to where it was fast tracked for her, to where I set it up with proper expectations from the jump when we met. And I'm like, look, we got two options when we met. It was like, this is my get down. This is what's happening. Yeah. Like, you're either going to run with it, or like, look, you got my phone number and we'll hit each other up when I'm in Utah, and we can do our thing then. Right. Yep. Because there's no other option. Right. And then, like, she holds her end of the bargain. Right. To where, like, I know she's at the house and she's taking 26 credits in nursing school. Like, get the hell out of that with that. And we got a 3-year-old at the house running around like a psychopath. Screw terrible twos. He's 3 now. I come home. He's like talking shit to me. I'm like, insanity. Yo, where'd you become a teenager, bro?
You only sold 3?
Yeah, I know. It's like, yo, chill, man. It's like, you got a nicer bed than me, bro. But like, for that, it's like, for me and my girl to be able to have offset, but her hold up that end of the bargain, to where I could, like, I know she's
super
working her ass off,
man.
And she knows Lynn's is at the house, like, working her ass off with the kids. Like, I'm not trying to be at the house with 3 kids running around. Like, that's harder than what we're doing. And so to have that in like perspective in that paradigm, it's been great.
I agree with you. I heard this I pick up snippets of information from all the content, and it said that the most important choice that you'll ever make in your life is your choice in a spouse. You know, it's funny because you guys are talking. I was just sitting when you were saying that. I was just sitting here thinking if I could be married to Misty if we didn't work together, and I don't know because she's such a hard worker. And I'm,
and if you were a bum, she would leave you.
Serious. And like, would a woman be married to me? Like, dude, I'm on a Zoom call the night before last at 7:30 to 9:30 doing a training with guys in Texas because there's, they had to finish doors and they had to do their stuff. And it's like, she's in there.
Had to get done.
It has to, it's like, it's just being in the game constantly. So like, the women in our lives that support us, but on the other side of that coin,
makes you work harder, bro.
It does make you work harder, man. It's amazing.
I better not come home empty handed, man.
100%.
You get that 8 o'clock text. I was talking about it earlier.
Yes.
How's your day going?
Yes.
Woo,
dude,
you don't have a deal under your belt?
McDonald's.
Oh my god, especially in alarms, dude. I remember coming home. Misty got with me. She moved in right when I started in alarms. In my first year, man, I would get doo-doo diaper, bro. if I bageled, bro, like I would. She would do the same thing. She'd be like, "How's everything going?" And I'm like, "No, nothing back, no bubbles." And I come home and I'm just like doo-doo diaper, and she's like, "Oh, he didn't get a deal." Like. There was times where we were talking. She's like, "You gotta get that under control, or you gotta stop bageling."
Yeah,
like
real.
One of the two.
It's like either do your job or you can't come home.
Yeah. So I want to ask you guys what attracted you to each other initially. So you guys were both new to Legacy, but you each had your own attributes when you guys, you came together. And this is the funny thing about our industry is people think like, listen, Doug Robinson didn't get hired. He made himself. Neither did Luke. Neither did Seth. Neither did Chris Wootton. Neither did Keaton Mott. You guys didn't get hired to go run WAXAHACHIE. You knocked your way into it.
Yeah.
But what happens is when you become a valuable human being to other people, it's you creating that value. And do we get taught and have mentors along the way 100%, but we're doing the footwork. So you guys came into your lives in completely different points and times in age and in career length. So what was it, Chris, that attracted you to Mott that you were just like, this is a real one. I want to work side. I'm gonna go to war with this dude.
Without a doubt. So his like first real summer, I think it was, right?
Yeah.
First real summer was in Tucson. I think that was probably like my 6th summer.
Mm-hmm.
And, there was a week where myself, him, and another individual in the office.
And my dad, I think.
No. It was...
yeah, I feel you.
Zeke Parker. So it was Zeke, and we were the
Zeke.
We were the hitters in the office throwing down.
Oh, yeah, it was the 2 top rookies in the office, 2 top vets. That's what it was.
Yeah, and
JT
we did like
$5,000 on it.
Yeah, we did like a
$6,000.
week throwdown, dude. And I remember looking at myself in my rearview mirror at the end of this throwdown, having sold like 15, 16 accounts that week, and just like, dude, like, well, I don't know if I got much more left in the tank. I'll keep swinging. And this kid did. Right. And I was like, shit. And they won. Right. The rookies won. They beat us. And I was like, holy shit. So, I can't.
It's eye-opening.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, obviously I don't forget about that. But we're both ridiculously competitive individuals. Okay. And let's face it, like he has cells running through his blood.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And he was willing to match my intensity from a work standpoint. It's very clear. Like I'm addicted to this. I'm addicted to this game and like building something super dope. Right. Like I've said it once, I'll say it again. I probably will never stop saying it. Like I want there to be books about what we achieve when this is all said and done.
Yeah.
Right. Plain and simple. And I knew that about him. I know how competitive he is. I know how dedicated he is. And I know that he wants to win. Right. And win the right way. And I saw that. And that was the type of person that I could see myself building a business with. And he's a good ass human being. Right. Like that's that. We talked about it earlier. I just want to work with good people that I can trust, man. In this game, there's a lot of just slimy SOBs out there, dude. There is, right? It sucks that that's the way it is.
Yeah.
They didn't start out that way, but it's the truth of the matter. And if I can avoid having people like that in my life, I want to.
Yeah.
Right. So, you know, it was a blessing. The timing, the way the stars aligned, like we had started seeing each other more at the gym, you know, and one thing led to another. We just, I don't know, dude, the universe, God, whatever it is that you believe in, like we were put in each other's lives at that time
for a reason.
And, you know, when Cody was like, yo, I'm thinking about this, I was like, bro, you're not thinking, like, what do we got to do to make this fucking happen?
Anytime somebody above me says I'm thinking about something, I'm like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
What are we doing?
I remember getting off the phone call.
And then we
Chris.
just jumped on a call, bro. And it was like, we jumped off. I was like, okay, cool. It's done. Like, we're going to go build something super dope. And we didn't waste any fucking time.
No, you didn't. I was still running the Arcadia dealership. It was before I came over to
and we shook shit up. Everyone was like, holy cow.
Obviously,
wait,
you
what?
know, I'm watching you guys' bubbles on socials, and you guys were just like literally, and that's why I say it's legit. Listen, I love watching the game, dude.
Of course, it's fun.
I love watching the game. You guys legit from the beginning.
Like,
I remember your social
bro.
bubbles were like, these dudes are they're
psychopaths.
geeked out psychopaths, man. And so
just having fun.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, the job. Listen, it's a lot of work, but ultimately the job is fun. There's a lot of pleasures that come out of this,
especially when you enjoy the people that you're doing it with.
The most. So just before, because I want to ask Mott, Keaton, I want to ask you about, you know, what was attractive about Chris as a human. But that's the power that we have in this ultimately is, listen, I you know, had the pleasure of, you know, the time that I spent back at Vivint with JT and Moriello and Pat Mendez and
priceless.
Like, dude, priceless. At that time, Cap.
I love you, Cap.
Dude, shout out Cap, bro.
Dude, those moments and those times, whatever else happens to those relationships, they were pivotal in changing my life. And at some point in my career, I got to literally construct the world around me and shape it with the people that I've wanted to work with. And a lot of the people, you know, I'm lucky to find myself in rooms with you guys.
Likewise.
Cam Brown, dude. Like, come on, man. Seth Grinney. Like, Jesus, these guys are two. Luke and Doug, you know, I talk to guys and they're like thinking about coming over to Legacy or this or that. And I'm like, you know what you need to do? You need to go meet Doug and Luke. Because when you sit with these guys, they're
That's
like,
what sealed the deal for me.
Dude, they're like, you can just tell that they're honest, they're caring, they're good human beings. They want the best for people. The teams, our ability to like, and I'm not just saying that because it's Legacy. Like I feel like I'm a very lucky human being to be surrounded by, but I've built that construct. I've put myself in situations where I get to pick the human beings that I want to work around.
Yeah.
And I don't have anybody negative in my life, man. It's amazing.
There's no room for it.
No, there's not. So Keaton, what was first off with Chris for you, man? What was like, I'm gonna grind with this dude.
So I think a lot like him, we go back to that Tucson summer. And right out there for a month and a half. Like we didn't really have like any massive interaction through that time because it was like my dad's getting down with his team, Woot's team, right? And then obviously there's connections in other places to where like it was what it was. But for me, I remember, dude, I'd get back to the house around like, you know, 8:30 with like Ben Gamble, who usually car grouped me out. And I'd be outside chilling. I was talking to my ex-girlfriend at the time, like on the phone, whatever, just, you know, 19, 20-year-old dude.
Yep.
10:30, 11 o'clock rolls around.
This dude.
White Jeep, bro, Cherokee, Grand Cherokee. And I'm like, who's pulling up at this time?
Yeah.
And it's him like probably playing like Lil Wayne or Pac or something like that. And I'm like, yo, this dude's just authentically himself. 100%. And so I was like, all right, I could get down with a human being like that at the beginning. And then I think it was like where I was coming from and where I was leaving. Like I needed something that was 10 times better than me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like from a standpoint, it's like, all right, dude, like Doug and his story, like the dude's been, you know, dug the hole, put in, someone's put the dirt on top of him. He came back up, dug the hole, put on top of him, kept going. Like, yo, that's Woot in essence, to where it's like, this dude doesn't stop. Like, it doesn't matter what's thrown this dude's way. You know his name for a reason.
Yeah.
Right. Always. Like, you know Chris Wootton and what he's done, but you also know him as like a human being to where like, I've never talked to a single person that knows Woot that says anything negative about him.
That's legit.
You know what I mean? Like I've never had an interaction, even if I think about it more, like never, no one's ever come to me and been like, yo, that dude's a scumbag.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he's just
100%.
authentically himself. Where on the back end of me, like I'm the one to usually be like, hey, go F yourself, bro. You know what I'm saying? And you can take
peanut butter and jelly.
You know what I mean? So take it for what it's worth.
Yeah.
And then just at the beginning, like he gave no option to where I was like, I took like a 2.5, 3 month period, not for any other reason that like I didn't want to get back to grinding, but like whatever decision that I wanted to make, hell or high water, I'm here for 5 years, no matter what, because I've seen so many dudes come and go from companies and nothing comes from it. Right. So for me, like I always Vivint, right? We always use, they're the staple of the industry, the background, the whole 9 yards. So where I take Vivint as an example, and you take the Poppy Mendez, right? The Todd Petersons, the Casey Boss, like the Kenny Cox, all these dudes. If we really think about it, like I'm assuming at some point they couldn't fucking stand each other behind closed doors.
Probably.
You know what I'm saying?
At some point.
Like from a standpoint to where they're like, whatever. Yeah. But they were so committed to the cause, right? And the human beings, whatever characteristic or personality flaws that they have, they were so committed to it long term with like the end goal in mind of it being a marathon and not a race. And like that's what I needed to find. Right. And when I like even sat down with Seth and like, again, like I relate, like my people, right? You, Seth, like us, that's like I relate more to people like that.
Same gym.
So I couldn't get down with like sitting having a conversation about X, Y, and Z and like, hey, do you want to make this real estate investment with me? I'm like, bro, I'm selling solar, dog. How do you tell me how to make some money on solar and how to actually knock a door and how to duplicate? Like, I don't want to hear all this other shit. Like the topic at hand is solar, right? I just need to know that if I pick up the phone, like I'm not going to do it a lot, right? Like I'm not going to bug you with dumb stuff. But if I pick up the phone, I want to be able to know that like there's an answer that's going to actually provide a massive amount of value for me, and that it's not going to be anything else. And so like to have that when I got down with Woo, and really he didn't give me any other option. I remember sitting in my backyard on the phone call, and he was just like, "Yeah, this is what we're gonna do." I'm like, "Well, I'm flying out to see X, Y, and Z." He's like, "Yo, cool. I'll see you on Monday. No worries. I got a shirt ready." And I'm like, "All right, bro. Like, okay, cool."
I love it. That's a dope story, man. So one of the things I've really started to pick up on in my life is that there's a few types of people in the game. One is, I got this from somebody posing a question. They said, do you want to be a student or do you want to be a follower? Why be a follower when you can be a student? And that kind of helped my paradigm as to, some of the growths, and myself as a leader, like you're a student. When you're a student of the game, it's different than being a follower.
Oh, yeah.
The thing about students, and I want to hit on a little bit on why you guys both transitioned from where you were into legacy. And I've had these conversations with myself a million times. For me, I ran a dealer, and it was, I was so stuck in the thick of thin things with just payroll. And then it was like, dude, literally like holding together a kinetic sandcastle, and legacy offered me so much. And I had been, with John Murphy from Arcadia, and I really respected and loved that relationship for so long. But there was a time when I was like, okay, I need to learn more. I felt like I was in college ball, and like legacy was the NFL, so obviously you guys are both students of the game. And Keaton, I'll just start with you real quick. So you were over at Bell, which is a great company. They have great people there. A lot of the times what I see with these dealer programs, including my own, was that it scales slowly, but not like what you can do here. So for me, that was like kind of my thing. I'm like, I need a platform
fast track
where I can just be around like supersonic human beings that can like bam. And so, you're a student of the game over there. What was that transition like for you? And what was the kind of call to action to say like, I've been at the table of comfort for a minute here, but like I need more. I want more. What was that like? What was that for you?
So even at Bell, like again, like it became a thing to where like we were so close as human beings.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like I stood with Jesse and Bree for like, 9 to 12 months.
Sure.
Like they're family to this day, right?
Yeah.
Like I love Bree as if she was my own mom. Like Jesse, Jeff, I call Jeff right now. And like we were so close on a personal level, right? To where that sometimes becomes like a double-edged sword, right? To where like the personal side of stuff started overflowing into the business.
Yeah.
Right? And to where it's like for me, again, the ego at that time of like being at the mercy that the information is provided with me, right? From a business standpoint, it was like I was put in a position that, I could fake it till I make it. Because that's what we're all doing here. At the end of the day, we're just faking it till I make it, trying to figure this shit out. Like not all of us have the answers. We're just trying to find the answers, and then we're going to have another thing that comes up that we don't know how to solve.
Agreed.
To where it's like, for me, it was like I was put in a position that like there was faults on all ends. Right, specifically on mine, I was just a dumb, young, naive kid.
Yeah.
And those dudes were trying to run a business to better their lives and improve their lives for an opportunity of a lifetime.
Yeah, of course.
And that's what it was. And so it was mutual. It was like, yo, this just ain't gonna work.
Yeah.
Right. Like I'm doing myself a disservice because I know what I'm able to offer. Right. I just don't have the tools that you're looking for right now.
Yeah.
And that's cool.
Yeah.
Because I don't want those tools right now where I'm at. Like, I'm not trying to be a CEO. Yeah. That's why I don't run a dealer program.
Yep.
Right. Like, I'm not trying to deal with all the other shit that dealer programs deal with.
Drama.
It ain't worth it.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to have a conversation with like a utility company or a city to find permits. Like, I'm cool. Like, I don't want that. Like, that ain't me. I'm just trying to go sell some shit and duplicate human beings and serve others. That's all I want to do.
That's where the money's at.
Exactly.
That's where the money's
right.
at.
For real. And so for me, like that transition was like just finding those people that had like-minded, but also that could like pour into me. Right. Because again, like that whole top Mott thing, like the more I go in this industry, like even seeing what my brother did, like what was it, a month ago? Like dude threw in like 35 deals at 20 years old. Homie doesn't even have a high school GED.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Props.
Shout out CT10.
Like,
So what Mott is he? He's medium Mott.
Don't ask
Top
me.
Mott?
Don't bring Kennedy in this
Medium
situation.
Mott?
She'll probably run circles around all of us.
She's a Mott too. Jeez, Kenny.
I said this, put all four of us against the top hitters in the industry, and we'll run it.
You said that in the room, and I think the room was like, but I'm like, nah, that's just actually legit.
Yeah,
the Motts are no joke. Dude.
Yeah, let's run it. And so, but yeah, that's really what it was. And then like it was just a counterpart to Woo, and then like Cody, like seeing the value that each individual provides, right? So from the back end, I'm looking within Legacy, and I'm like, yo, that's like
legit,
right?
NFL.
But even with that being said, like the Patriots got problem in the locker room.
It's true.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like LeBron has problems in the locker room. The Bulls were struggling with shit to where you see for what it's worth, but you see what value that human being provides.
Yes.
Right? You know what I mean? If we walk into Vivint right now, you know, everybody from the outside looking in, it's like, oh yeah, it's this well-oiled machine. Like bullshit.
Yeah.
Like you look at Lumio, it's like a well-oiled machine. Bullshit. You look at Sunder, it's a well-oiled machine. Bullshit.
Yeah.
Right? But it's like us as human beings, it's like, what do you do with that information? And does it become personal, or do we stay at the task at hand that like this is business and we could all grow and stay so committed to one another and the task at hand and the end goal, just like the Casey Balls and the Jeff Mendes did. And look at those dudes now. You got the private jets, the helicopters. They ain't got to do anything. Jeff Mendes probably has 53,000 units or doors to his name.
Insane.
Like, come on.
So it's funny because I did, I worked with Kenny Cox for a while back in the industry. Love Kenny Cox. That's one of the most amazing human beings.
He's a legend.
He is a legend. And one of the things, I did a podcast with him on the original podcast with Zach Ross, the door knocker. And one of the things, and I'm going to butcher it, this was years ago, but he went to an NFL thing and he was with a coach, and that's what the coach said was, he's like, I go in with a 5-year commitment to whatever I'm doing. And I think that's where, I don't think it's a lack of growth opportunity and stability in the industry, because people don't see the forest past the trees when it comes to like what can be built with a really well-oiled team over time. And they're like, oh, I'm going to go get a nickel. I'm going to go get a dime.
Instant gratification.
I'm going to go get it right. And what you'll see people,
Facts.
we all know guys that are in the industry. I can't tell you how many rabbits
3, 4, 5 years ago
that have fallen asleep under a tree, and I just passed them right up. And it's because like I've had long-term commitments everywhere that I've been. I mean, even Arcadia now in Vegas is still installing for Legacy until we get our warehouse going. But I didn't just dump that relationship. Yeah. I made sure that it was secure. But because of my long-term friendships and, a lot of the leaders that I have. So I vibe with you 100%. And I have said that so many, like those guys are worth as just human beings, but those were 15, 16-year relationships between Poppy, Bodie, Casey. Those dudes were, but look what they built. Like if you could just stick together.
And they were selling stuff that doesn't even make 0.001% that I make on a deal.
100%.
And so what took them 10, 15, 20 years to
5
do?
years.
Come on
10
now.
years.
Why would I not do it?
Yeah.
And better than anyone else, or try better than everyone else.
Yeah.
Because even if I don't reach that goal, cool. We're good.
Well, if I can get half of that, I'm doing pretty good.
Come on now.
So when you left Alarms, I mean, you had a long tenure with Vivint.
Yep.
Obviously a love relationship with that.
Absolutely.
What was the kind of call to action? Obviously solar. Most alarm guys, I was unique because I was in the Vivint office,
right?
And Vivint Plus was in there.
I moved to Vegas shortly after you had made your transition to the Vivint Plus.
Yeah, it was tough, dude, because we had our boards up, and on one side of the room originally was the alarm guys' boards, and on the other side of the room was the solar guys' boards. Mm-hmm. And the moment I figured out what the fuck a kilowatt was and what they were getting paid on a kilowatt, like my paradigm was changed, dude. And then
we're doing the same job.
I know you're talking to these cats, right? And shout out to the Vivint Plus office back then, Steven and Dusty were some dope dudes. But I'm talking to a dude and I'm like, so tell me about the pay. And they're like, oh, we get this much. I'm like, well, what do you do? And he's like, well, listen, what I do is like, I get up and I do my emails. And then I do my pipeline.
I do the same thing as
you. And he's like, then I go to a meeting twice a week for core. I'm like, you go to core twice a week? He's like, yeah, it's at like noon. And then I go grab some lunch till like 1 or 2. And then like when it's like 3, I go out and knock for like 2 hours. And I'm like, how much did you make last month? And I'm like, so for me, it was like a no-brainer.
Same hustle, different
like,
product.
Dude, Seth was knocking with me. And he was at North Star, and I kept bringing him over to my house. I'd have these little parties for the dealer, and I'm trying to talk him into it, trying to recruit out, of course, above my recruiting cap.
I remember seeing a picture of you and Seth.
I'm going to recruit Seth, right?
Yeah.
So, but so slowly, it was the same thing. He's like, no way, it's not real. I'm like, and I'm showing him like legit my bank account. I'm like, bro. So we went out and knocked for a month, and then off he goes to do an ADT blitz, and then boom, he comes back. He's with Legacy, and then he's David Goggins in the industry. So what was it like for you going from?
That's the greatest thing I've ever heard anyone say about the David Goggins. The kid's a psychopath.
He's a psychopath, dude. So
drink water and eat.
So going from alarms, what was like the light that opened up, and you're like, I gotta go.
So one, it was a couple different things. As my family was growing, actually, when I made the transition from Vivint and I closed that chapter and I transitioned to Legacy, my wife, and sometimes I lose sight of this, Lindsay was like about to pop with our third. Like, I made a career switch at a time when most people typically don't. Like looking back on it, I'm
you
like,
need to get snipped, bro.
Come on, I know. But nonetheless, is I looking back on it, it's like, holy cow, super crazy. Most people wouldn't have made that transition, right?
Yeah,
it's like they just stayed with the comfortable thing.
Fear.
Like, well, what's the one thing everyone says about solar is it takes
months,
6 weeks
to get right. So it's, I'm
especially
good,
the alarm regionals.
Yeah,
Let's say it take 3 years to get paid.
Yeah, no kidding, no kidding. Well,
where's my back end?
My connection, right? My connections. I was again 9 years in the business. I was so tapped in with people, like in the industry, that they weren't applying pressure to, hey, dude, you need to do solar, but they were like, Chris, like
subtle marketing.
You're crazy. Like, why are you still doing this? Why are you still doing this? And, I had my reasons, right? Mostly I was just loyal to a fault.
Yeah.
And, I felt like I owed my leadership something and, so on and so forth. But I made the transition. And the one thing was the life that I saw people living in solar, outside of just the dollars and cents. Again, fast forward to when I start, right?
Yeah.
But I saw a more sustainable lifestyle. I saw my buddies taking, these 2-3 week vacations, once a quarter, right? I saw obviously the, weekly checks, 5-figure checks with commas in it, right? Anyone that's money hungry, they see that, they get curious, right? And then, and I tell this story often, is I saw a product that like, it's not an in addition to payment, right? Like with alarms, I had to create all this emotion and, sure, like I never did anybody a disservice. Like I will always take pride in the business that I do, but like I added a bill to most people's life that I took care of the 2,000 plus customers, right? I did. So as I learned solar and what it consisted of, that I was replacing a bill everybody was paying with a payment that is generally less or the same.
Yep.
I had an epiphany. I was like, holy shit. So like,
it's like a takeover.
Yeah, exactly. Ding, 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 ding. So I saw that. And then not only that, it's like, wait, and the federal government's backing this stuff?
Yeah.
And then it was, and you made how much?
Yeah.
Right? So it was just all these things that just added up. And it's like, okay, it came a point in time. Timing, was it ideal? Wound up being, yes, very, right? Because the stars aligned, But that's when I was just like, if you're doing it, right? And there are people that I was acquainted with and worked with on a daily basis.
Yep.
If they were doing solar, why would they not want me to do it? Right. So I'm making a selfish decision based on what's best for me and my family. Because I hadn't done that up until that point. Right. Again, my loyalty to a fault. I wanted to do what was best for the organization. Rarely, was I putting my quote unquote family first. And looking back on it now, I see that. Right. So I made a selfish decision. I said, look, these relationships, the loyalty, I love all these people, but I got to do what's best for me and mine. Right. All these things, everything is pointing towards this.
Yeah.
And then I knew Seth. Seth and I were very close.
Yep.
Right. I knew Cody. Cody and I were very close. Those are my leaders, and I'd do anything for both of those dudes.
Yeah.
Right. And they know that. So I already had some trust established. It's not like I had to go create new relationships. So that gave Legacy a leg up. But let's be honest, Vivint is the big leagues of that industry, the smart home, the home security industry.
Smart home, they are, yeah.
Pound for pound. Okay. There's no contesting.
Vivint is the legacy of alarms.
Ding. And
100%.
that's it. So
100%.
I wasn't gonna like take steps backwards. I wasn't gonna go like work for some small rinky dink thing. And I sure as hell wasn't gonna go try and do some dealer thing. I didn't know what a string inverter or micro inverter was when I came to solar. And that's a true story, bro.
Yeah.
Okay. So like, why would I not just go from one big league to the next?
Yep.
Okay. Make myself more marketable. It's exactly what Keaton, we know. Again, we've gamified everything.
Marketing.
We knew what we were doing.
People be slipping up on their marketing, man.
Dude, come on.
Hit that marketing. Instagram, guys. TikTok, guys.
He's really good at it, right? Again, like that's what we complement each other. So, I'm not gonna go backwards.
Yeah.
Let me go to the big leagues and compete with the hitters over here.
Yep.
And let me learn from literally the top 1% in the business, pound for pound at the time.
Yeah.
When I made the transition to Legacy, the people in that office, in this Vegas office,
beasts.
Come on.
Just
right?
dummy.
Like just stupid.
Yeah.
Okay. The money, like not just the money, but the people.
People.
They were really good humans, right? They were. Okay. So at that point, my decision was made.
Yeah.
I saw what they were doing, and I've always wanted to go back to DFW and run an organization. That has always been on like goal board.
Yep. Right.
Well, I did summers there with Vivint. Like I love DFW. Like I loved that area. I love Texas, So when I made the transition, I was very transparent with our leadership, and they were like, cool. Well, is that it? That's what you want to do? Yeah. You're not going to give any pushback. Like, they were like, fuck no, let's go.
Yeah. Right.
And Doug and Luke, they were very straight up with me. Cool. Let's do it. What do we got to do to get it done?
Yeah.
And
so it's,
boom.
I went up to Curtis, who does the phone room. When he was first coming on, we flew up there.
Yeah.
Dude, Doug is, so listen, it was like, I was like, the swag on this dude.
Different.
So we're all sitting in Luke's office, and Curtis has got a million questions, and Natalie's there, and, they just have a new baby. It's a big move for them.
Yep.
And here comes Doug. And he comes in, and he sits down on the chair, and he goes, what's up, guys? He goes, listen, here's what's the deal. If you can come and do more at Legacy, you should come.
Yeah.
If you can't, you shouldn't.
Yeah.
That was it. I was like, that's gold, man. But that's like what it comes down to is like,
it's a testament to the leader he is too, right?
100%. It's like, he knows, like, this is the thing. There's, all companies, everybody's going to Sunder, Apricot, everybody says something about somebody.
Yeah.
Right.
The deal here is like, to me, this is the NFL. And that's when I was in the dealer program, it was legit. The dealer program is legit. Like college football. It just is. It's great. You can make a bunch of money in there. Unless you're some phenom, and have dudes scaled the dealer program. Yes, they have. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. But I didn't, like I said, I'm not
going to go reinvent the wheel. Bro.
I know. I don't. No. And so
I don't need to do payroll.
It's a call out to like, scale. And that's where the win's at. So listen, guys, I appreciate you coming out, and flying in, spending some time with us on the podcast, telling your stories up at Correlation.
Been a pleasure, man.
Yeah.
It has been.
We love you guys.
Honestly, honest game, like a pleasure to watch you guys. Where can we find you on Instagram?
Let me check. What is my
It's the
Instagram
king of
handle?
social media right
Yeah,
here.
you know.
Keaton, your game's a little tighter.
Yeah, come on now. It's just Keaton Mott _. So
Okay.
Keaton _.
Got it.
Yep. It's just Wootton _ WOOTTON
Yep. If
_
anybody wants to follow these guys' bubbles when they're out doing their stuff, they're fun to watch. So again, thank you guys for blessing us on the podcast and coming in and sharing your stories. Appreciated watching everything that you guys are doing. You guys are goats, and it's what you're doing. You're working your asses off. You're building a beast of a team and just kicking ass, man. So I'm grateful to have you guys as friends, and thanks for coming in.
Thank you for having us.
Enjoy the show.
Love you, bro.
All right. Love you.